But now as we kind of round out the show here this evening, what I'm going to do, we've got some more soccer talk. When Rutledge is away, Connor talks soccer. That's how that goes. So what I'm going to do real quick is we've got a big European tournament coming up. The Euros, which was supposed to happen last year, but there was a little global pandemic that kind of hurt that ideology. But what I'm going to do is go through our groups here and kind of just give some early thoughts as to how I think some of these groups are going to shake out here. And the big thing that I'm going to do is rate the groups, what I think in terms of difficulty. So what better place than to start than Group A? Group A includes Turkey, Italy, Wales, and Switzerland. And I'm giving this group a D for strength in terms of don't bother watching. I think Italy will be the strongest team in this group, and it shouldn't have a problem getting out and finding a nice groove into the round of 16. I know Italy should play with great urgency because they didn't even make the World Cup last time around, but this group should not be all that much of an issue for Italy to get through and to be able to maybe try some different lineups, rest some guys, just maybe get some younger players some good times, but also the key players that are going to be critical throughout the course of the tournament, get them into a nice groove. So that's Group A: Turkey, Italy, Wales, and Switzerland. Group B here, we have Denmark, Finland, Belgium, and Russia. I'm giving this a C in terms of strength, average strength. Denmark was a World Cup qualifying team and should continue to have some firepower. But Belgium will always be strong behind the capabilities of Kevin De Bruyne. Love Kevin De Bruyne. I know Eden Hazard is, sometimes we don't know where he's at. He's eating some Belgian chocolate and having a nice, strong Belgian ale as opposed to being on the field. But I definitely see Belgium winning this group as of now, with Denmark coming in second. But, don't sleep on Russia. Russia's got some good quality players and can really, kind of make a game really, really hard for a Belgium or a Denmark to see through. Although ultimately I think Russia won't make it out of the group or in the top two. So that's Group B. Group C, we've got Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria, and Northern Macedonia, one of the newer inductees into UEFA. And I'm just going to say C notes for Group A. I give this group a D. I don't think it's a very strong group at all, but just substitute Netherlands for Italy. Netherlands does have some good players. And I think that the Netherlands should be able to use this group stage to catapult themselves into the knockout rounds. So here's where we start to get a little more interesting here. Group D here has England, Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic. I spoke with one of my sources over in England, and he seems to think England has a lot trickier of an out in this group than I do. Scotland is going to look at this as their World Cup final. So is Czech Republic. And Croatia always comes to play. I kind of think Croatia's a little bit longer in the tooth now than they were as opposed to their World Cup final run just a couple years ago. As it comes to this England team, really looking at all the Euros, I think that England might be the most put together team here of the Euros. I think, if gambling was one of my vices, I think that England, I would put some dough. I'd put some coin on England for sure. So, I think the big piece will be Kyle Walker, his injury status in terms of really rounding out that roster. I would love in the group stage to see heavy doses of Phil Foden and Declan Rice. They're in the lineup for England. Man, England's loaded, especially in the midfield. I think that what Gareth Southgate could do just as a nice gesture to the other teams is take the midfield that he doesn't start and have them play for the other team. And that would probably be a more challenging competition outside of Croatia and Modric and Rakitic. But for Scotland and Czech Republic, I think that, they could maybe get a couple loanies from the England guys on the bench and make it a little bit even more interesting. But I see England to win this group with Croatia being the runner-up. Group E, we've got Spain, Sweden, Poland, and Slovakia. I think let's hope that the Spanish national team still have some spunk. Oh, by the way, for Group D, I'm going to give Group D a C rating, or pardon me, a B minus rating. I think that with England and Croatia, those are two very, very solid sides, but you definitely have the top tier and the bottom tier of this group. In Group E, we've got Spain, Sweden, Poland, and Slovakia. I'm giving this group a B because that's assuming that Spain comes to play. Let's hope the Spanish national team still has some spunk in them, as their best days have seemed to have gone away. Although Lucho Enrique always has a few tricks up his sleeve. I think that the health of Sergio Ramos and Gerard Piqué are going to be critical. As their main competition will be Poland, as led by Robert Lewandowski. So being able to corral Robert Lewandowski is going to be very critical for the Spanish side. And that brings us into our final group here this evening, Group F, which is Hungary, Portugal, France, and Germany. And I give this group strength rating A+++. This is without a doubt the group of death. Hopefully this shakes out. I know there's a couple third place teams that'll advance. Hopefully this shakes out that Portugal, France, and Germany advance. But I think the big question is which German team will show up. They really struggled in the last World Cup cycle, but being able to compete well is going to be critical. The other interesting news that broke today is that Karim Benzema is back in the lineup for France. It'll be interesting to watch just how that goes in terms of flow with Griezmann. How some of that time gets shared and things like that. Also, always being a Barcelona follower, always interested to see the health of our dear center back, Samuel Umtiti. Those are some of my thoughts as it relates to the Euros. And we've made it through this show. And I've done all right. And I have survived. Maybe I should tell Rutledge to just not come back. And it's just Connor Stream Sports. Maybe. Maybe not, though. I like having Rutledge around.